Good evening, Bula Vinaka and Namaste. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Tonight in studio, our guest is the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, and we will be talking about the 2025-2026 national budget, which was delivered last Friday, bringing a lot of relief to the people. A number of announcements made there, some questions raised about certain areas, and further clarification needed over the weekend into early this week, and we made the request to Professor Prasad to come in studio, and we are grateful again that we've been given the opportunity to host a show here at his office tonight. So Professor Prasad, thank you again for accepting our invitation to come on the show this evening to speak directly to the people.
Thank you, Vijay. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Now, we did speak before the budget that cost of living is something where people are calling for the government to look at where some relief can be provided, and you have acted on that. Some measures have been taken in this budget at the cost of losing government revenue, of course. This step was necessary. How will you balance it off, and if you can talk about the measures that you have put in?
Vijay, I think that is a very important question and very important subject to start with. So, government was not oblivious to the fact that there were issues about cost of living. Post-COVID, coming out of that transition, even though we had big growth in 2023, about 7.3%, people were still struggling post-COVID. So, in the first budget, we provided additional support, in terms of social welfare, in terms of our support to the agriculture sector, subsidies on fertilizer, weedicide, all measures designed to aid income to the people. On the other hand, we also realized that if the government is not funded properly, then given the debt level that we inherited, and for us to continue the principal payment and the interest payment, we would have to do that. So in the first budget, we reformed the tax. We were able to raise additional revenue, but all that additional revenue was also being used to ensure that people got the support. Then in 2024-2025 budget, we went further and address the income side. So we raised the minimum wage to $4.50 on 1st of August 2024 and $5 on 1st of April 2025. Having done all that, we still realized that we needed to give further relief to our people, and also anticipating what might happen as a result of a global economic slowdown, what might happen as a result of the rise in oil prices. And we are anticipating that if all that happened, the cost of living could go further. So, taking into account what was happening already and what is going to be anticipated as a result of the global economic slowdown, we have carefully adopted this strategy. So we've reduced the VAT, we have put in additional funding into a number of areas so that people's income goes up. Salaries and wages in the private sector have also gone up because of the minimum wage, and because of raising the minimum wage, wages in the different sectors also went up.
Now, one of the issues that is being talked about, and you did cover this in the budget address, and something that continues to happen is stepping up surveillance to ensure that the price reductions are passed down to the consumers. What type of action have you taken, decisive action, to make sure that it happens?
Well, again, Vijay, as I said in the budget speech, so we've done a number of things in this budget to address cost of living. So one, obviously, is reducing VAT, plus keeping the 22 items zero-rated VAT as it is. we have not raised the income, reduced the income tax threshold. So all those people with incomes below 30,000 don't pay any taxes. Plus, what we did in this budget, if you look at, we've reduced duties on basic food items as well, like fresh fish, salmon, canned fish, chicken portions, giblets, liver, etc. And all that is designed to bring the prices of basic consumer food items lower. Now, government has done its part. What we are saying to the businesses is you must play your part as well, and we want to see a corresponding decrease in the prices emanating from reduction in duty, emanating from reduction in VAT. Some businesses in the past unethically, and I think it's morally wrong for businesses not to reduce prices and pocket the reduction in duty and the price pass on that needs to go to the consumers. So we've tried to use persuasion in the last two budgets. We've been talking about it. We still find that some of them don't do that, and others follow as well. So this time we are saying we're going to come very hard. So we've set up a task force, FCCC, FRCS, Consumer Council of Fiji, and Ministry of Finance. And already the task force is working on the ground, making sure, assessing all the prices that exist now. And from the day the VAT is reduced, 1st of August, duties come into effect, we want to ensure that those effects are passed on to the consumers in terms of lower prices. And we are saying the number of actions we can take, policy actions. If we find that we need to bring price control on certain food items, we will do that. If we find that quite deliberately businesses are not following the policy, not adhering to the law, we will come hard on them. So there could be punitive measures as well. The other thing, Vijay, that we, in response to this, is we also found that over the years, our quarantine requirements, quarantine laws that have been there for 30, 40 years, production processes have changed around the world, new countries have come into the picture, new suppliers of a lot of products like ghee from India. India is one of the world's largest producers of milk products. There are countries like Australia and New Zealand which import from India, but we can't import from those countries directly. So we have said to the Biosecurity Authority of Fiji, you need to go back and look at all these items which our importers can import directly and sometimes at a cheaper price. And we've worked that out. We've done some analysis and research. There are items that we can import directly will be cheaper. Plus, people must have a choice of products. So all that put together, I think, is going to be an effective package. The other good news surrounding all these measures that we've taken, Vijay, is that because we had good macroeconomic strategy, we found that the inflation rate, as a result of what we did in the last two budgets, as a result of changes in the supply chain processes, slight reduction in cost of freight, etc., that the overall inflation rate compared to 2023, which was about more than 7 to 5%, was about 1.3% in 2024. And beginning of this year, if you look at May figures, is somewhere around 0.1%. So the overall picture of reducing the cost of living is looking good. And these actions in this budget reduction in VAT, reduction in duties, price surveillance, a hard look at what the businesses are doing, I think is going to be a very, very good package, and I am confident, barring any drastic impact of the global economic slowdown, the Middle East conflict, raising oil prices to an exorbitant level, this package, even if that happens, the package that we put in will actually cushion some of the impact.
Now, Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation has said they welcome the initiatives, but they have raised the issue about the duty protection for manufacturers that has been taken away partially, and that it will increase the cost of manufacturing. What is your comments to those people?
Well, what I'm saying to the businesses, in fact, a lot of manufacturing is very highly protected. 42% duty protection. Then we have quarantine restrictions. Then we have, other restrictions on import. So I don't think that the reduction in duties that we've made is going to have any drastic impact on some of those producers. The message we are also sending, Vijay, to our businesses, particularly the manufacturing sector, that look, we are providing you with all this protection, but we are also saying that you need to produce enough, you need to produce at a cost that is acceptable. When we say we are protecting the industry, we are actually protecting. What that means in practical terms is that you are paying for it. So if we protect a particular industry, let's say a product that's manufactured in Fiji, when we put in 42% duty, anybody who imports that at 42% duty passes the price on to you. You end up paying that cost. Now, if the local manufacturer, just like the previous government did on 32% duty protection on milk products, they gave this company, a sole company, 10-year tax protection. Anybody who wanted to import milk products would pay 32% duty, but this company is producing here and selling it at a price which is almost equivalent to 32% duty. Now, who is losing on that? The manufacturer or the business is making all the money, yet not passing the benefit that the government is providing for a reasonable price. So we are saying, be reasonable, because if you are not reasonable, then it's a government's responsibility then to look at the structure of protection, because we don't want our people to keep paying more and the manufacturers keep making the profit. We want them to make some profit, but we are saying produce enough, produce quality at a reasonable price. And protection is always meant to be temporary, but some protection we have in this country has been there for 30, decades. 40, for decades. And people are paying for it. That is something that we want to correct. We are not saying to businesses, look, we won't give you protection. We will provide you protection. But this is also a message, a signal that they have a responsibility to look after our people as well.
Now, in the past, consumers have also said about during the monitoring system and in the past years, where people know that exorbitant prices have been charged, for FCCC to be more decisive in the steps they're taking. We have raised this issue with the FCCC in the past. They've said they do surveillance, they provide warnings, etc. So with this new step up that you're doing, are we seeing that FCCC with the others, this action will be more effective?
It will be more effective. As I said, we've met all these organizations. The task force is onto its job, and we expect them to take this as a very, very serious undertaking. We want this task force to ensure that we are fair to the businesses are fair to the consumers, and if government is losing revenue, if government is giving this and doing so with the intent to ensure that the prices for our consumers are reasonable, then the businesses have a moral responsibility. It'd be unethical and unscrupulous of them to maintain those prices when VAT rate has gone down, when duty has gone down, when other measures have been relaxed. So the task force has a very clear work to do.
Civil servants will get a 3% salary increase effective from 1st August this year. This is in addition to the 7% to 20% pay rise included for certain salary scales in the 2024-2025 budget. You are starting to step this up from the current budget and into the next budget compared to the previous increase, I believe was in 2017. What are the plans for civil service, knowing they do not have a cost of living adjustment or a performance management system at the moment?
Yeah, so Vijay, that's a very good question. And let me say this, that we are very happy that we've been able to give this additional 3% pay rise to all the civil servants. Because we recognize when we came into government that the last increase they had was in 2017. So in last year's budget, we provided a salary increase in wages and salaries for government workers between the range of 7 to 20%. That was 1st of August. So that means that within a year, from 1st of August 2024 to 1st of August 2025, within a year, civil servants will receive a pay rise of between 10 to 23%. Now, that's a significant recognition of this government's resolve to ensure that our civil service are paid well. So we are very happy that within a year we've been able to give between 10 to 23% pay rise to the civil servants. Having said that, and following on from your other part of the question, that we also need to ensure that our civil service is agile, flexible, responsible, and that we are able to deliver the services to our people. And as I have been saying, that the delay in executing the expenditure, the delay in approvals of, let's say, a building permit or a development plan for a particular area, a delay in any kind of approval processes, support, infrastructure is a cause for delay in development, and we can't afford that. That means if a business has a loan approved in the bank, $5 million, but the building permit or the approvals take 6 months, that money is sitting in the bank for 6 months. That money is supposed to be out of the bank and create economic activity. So we are saying to civil servants that they need to think about this in those terms. So the Public Service Commission, with the support of the Australian government, is looking at the number of issues within the civil service, performance management. You talked about cost of living adjustment that we used to have in the past that periodically addresses salary increases and what is required. So, and we know that our civil service is large. We are spending close to about $1.2, $1.3 billion a year on civil service salaries and wages. And so the government has a moral responsibility, to the people, to the country, to ensure that our civil service is agile, flexible, and of the right size to provide the services and implement budgetary measures that governments put out every year.
You have also announced the increased social welfare measures, which includes relief for the people living on or below the poverty line. How are you monitoring this? There's also questions being raised about abuse of the system. Of course, it's tax dollars. It has to be monitored well. But at the same time, we need to protect those who are vulnerable. What type of work is expected to go into it, into the new budget?
Vijay, that's again an important issue. So we increased the social welfare allowances when we came in first in 2023-2024 budget, together with other measures such as back to school and price support for other sectors of the economy to raise people's income. But for social welfare, you're right, there is an element of abuse, and we are saying to our people, please do not prey on government services on social welfare if you are not one of those that is not entitled to. We want to make sure that we provide those targeted supports. There are a number of schemes within the social welfare category, a disability allowance, family income support, social pension. There are a number of other measures there. And we are very pleased that we've been able to increase all those across the board by about 5%, given other measures that we are putting in place in terms of addressing cost of living, addressing the issue of VAT reduction, maintaining the 22 basic food items, including prescribed medicine, zero VAT. We are saying that the increase that we've given to the social welfare recipients in 2023-2024 budget, given the inflation rate, this 5% increase is going to go a long way to further supporting those vulnerable groups. But the Ministry of Social Welfare is also working on addressing the loopholes on the abuse. And our message is very clear as a government: do not abuse the system. Let people who deserve that get the benefit, and that will allow government in the future to increase this further. If we save those abuse, that can all go to the people who deserve more.
The HIV epidemic is a major concern. We haven't had comprehensive awareness campaigns for a number of years. It was seen that it had become a real threat by the time the coalition government came in, and the hard realities were facing us right from the beginning, where we could see the level of hard drug use, and now the number of new cases with HIV confirmed cases showing direct link to injectable drugs. Yep. You have announced a 10 million package to fight HIV/AIDS. It's quite a historic number. Prior to this, at times in some budgets, it's only $100,000 to $150,000 for the whole year. If you can explain the big step that you've taken.
So, Vijay, again, let me say this, that these are very good examples: the HIV, AIDS, drug, crime, the interconnectivity of these three issues and the social issues that it has created. And these things, like many others that we inherited, do not come overnight, do not happen within 1 or 2 years. This is a result of years of neglect on drug issue, on NCDs, on HIV, on crime, and this is a government that has taken this head on. We have not been afraid of putting out the statistics, putting out the data. Whenever any study is done, whether it's on health, whether it's on education, this information is out in the public, out to media organizations like yourselves, who do a good job to put out the issues that are there. And we recognize this from the assessment that was done earlier, that this is now a serious issue. People are dying. And it's related to drug, it's related to crime. So we've done three things. One, we have put a big focus on HIV/AIDS. We put in this $10 million. We are hoping that our donor partners will also chip in, and that there will be an immediate, urgent, whole government effort to address this issue through education, through intervention, through testing. Plus, we want to address the drug issue. And we set up this Narcotics Bureau. We are putting additional resources. Some of the measures that I announced, the role of FRCS, border control. So, are taking these issues at all fronts. stopping drugs coming in, but also addressing the issues that are already there. So that is why we wanted to send a very clear message, a big message to everyone in this country, to those who are caught into this. We are saying drug not only threatens the individual that uses it, it threatens their parents, their family, their communities, and it threatens the country. This is how serious it is. And as a government, we are taking the bull by the horn. We are saying, let's put our money where our mouth is. We know this is a problem. This problem was neglected. I mean, all these people in the opposition who are talking about, deficit or whatever right now, these are the very people that sat on their laurels, ignored these problems, and they are now harping about it. What are we doing it? This is what we are doing. This is a very clear signal.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just the issue in relation to General Secretary, was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
No one is above the law.
We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I'm Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, and we are having an in-depth look into the 2025-2026 national budget based on comments sent by you, questions sent by you after the announcement of the budget and even before the budget was announced. We have an increased level of initiatives announced, support announced for education that continues from 2023. Major one announced in relation to scholarships, merit-based scholarships, and that is a historic figure that you continue to put in the budget. Questions continue to be raised about the effectiveness of it as far as parents making sure that they take part in the education-related targets set for by the schools, by the students, and by the nation as a whole. Now, the Education Minister has come on this show just a few weeks ago, where he has said that schools have been charging a fee or levy because questions were raised about whether they can be charging things like a building fee or levy, etc., to assist school management committees. We then also raised the issue that was raised about flexibility of fundraising activities and more participation between the school management committees, the parents, teachers, and everyone involved in the education sector. You have made some announcements in relation to that. What has become necessary in the sector now, from your point of view, to ensure that we enhance the services to our students?
Yeah. So Vijay, very important question, and I think this deserves a little bit of discussion. So one thing that happened was that the partnership between the management, the community groups, religious organizations, when 99% of the schools in this country were built and owned and managed by these organizations. And if you look at, 15, 16 years back, before this deterioration started, all schools throughout the country, school quarters, rural schools, infrastructure was much better. This government realized that. We actually got the Australian government to do an audit of more than 80 schools in the Suvarnasuri area. That report was launched by the Honourable Prime Minister. We did that because we knew, some of us were involved in education. I was the president of a school, a primary school, and I knew the number of students in our class. The facilities were deteriorating because first, management were not allowed any independence in managing the school, in the grants, in fundraising, and the money that was going to the schools in terms of education grant was not enough. So that was completely destroyed. And we recognized that, and we realized that government cannot run this. Parents stopped going to the school. A lot of parents tell me that they don't even know who the teacher is, for the children. And so that partnership was broken. So what we've done in this budget is we've taken a very decisive action. We've said, first, the school managements must be given the autonomy. We have to trust them. And that's why I provided additional 500,000 for the School Management Association. I'm saying to them, go and strengthen this throughout the country. Provide support for school management to work. Then we are saying that the grant that government gives, it was so rigid. The ministry, people were telling, okay, you use 20% for this purpose. When in a school, you probably need 90% of that grant to fix the school wash facilities, sanitation, etc., or building. There was no flexibility. So we are providing that flexibility. We are providing full autonomy to school managements to manage the government grant funds in the way, even they can go to the extent of, if they do some savings, they can use that against borrowing needs that they might need to fix the infrastructure, build staff quarters. And that, in my view, and the basis on which the previous government made the decision, they were saying, oh, some school managements misuse it. There will always be examples of school managements that would fall into that category. Now, if 5% of the school management committees around the country have problems with the accounts and all that, why are you penalizing 95% of those, who do an honest day's job and make sure that they work hard and provide the support to the students? So this is a major correction in the way schools have been managed in this country. And I think, Vijay, we are confident, and I am very confident that this will change the landscape within the education school sector. Management, parents, communities will have more excitement about going to the school, about, annual bazaars were a feature of every school in the country, rural, urban. Parents, communities is to get together. Alumni, school alumni, old boys, old girls, all coming out and trying to help. Now, all that was taken away. Now, we are going to bring that back. So, it's a good decision. And I know all the school managers, school management associations around the country are very, very happy, and they're extremely pleased and welcomed this initiative by the government. And I think it will do good to the education system.
Well, the school management committees, we spoke to people like Ben Saladakau, who's a former president of the Fiji Principals Association. He's also managing a school, and he's looking forward to the re-engagement of parents at a large level during activities organized by the school. What is your message to the parents watching this?
My message to the parents is, look, we trust you. We want to thank you, thank everybody, our forefathers, our church leaders in the past, who all worked very hard to build such magnificent facilities for our students in this country. And we want you to come back and take control of the school system, take control of the school environment, the facilities for your children, because that's the service, that's the volunteerism that all of you can do to help strengthen our education system, which was completely broken. And I am very pleased on behalf of the government, on behalf of the Prime Minister, to say that we had this foresight as a government. We recognized what was the problem. We saw it firsthand when we came into government. And we've made the decisive, we've taken the decisive step, and you have now the freedom and a responsibility to use the government grants in a flexible way, plus add to that your fundraising efforts and your ability to manage the school in an independent way.
Abuse of the system, as you said, if there's even 5% abuse of the system, it's abuse of tax dollars. What type of measures are in place to crack down on those who do the
all the
illegal
governance, financial management mechanisms, Vijay, are still in place. The schools will have to provide audited report. So we are not softening any of those financial management requirements. What we are saying is, within that system, the school managers, school managements have the freedom to decide how they want to use those grants. What is the priority, X or Y? Not this rigid decision from the Ministry of Education to say, oh, you can use only 20% for this, when you need to use about 60% to fix something which is a priority, which is urgent. So that's the flexibility we are giving. We are not, this flexibility is not sending a message that you can abuse the system. No.
land access and agriculture? There's still a lot of opportunity, you would know, with a lot of unutilized land. We know there's also always for years the comments about when we will go into commercial agriculture on a larger scale. We know companies like the wonderful company from the United States of America who also own Fiji Water. They've announced a major expansion plan which looks at commercial agriculture. If you can talk about what are the plans in terms of first land access and utilization and boosting agriculture.
So Vijay, let me just give you these examples. So we have recognized that we need to make sure that land accessibility, lease renewal, the partnership between the landowners and the tenants and those that want to use the land is enhanced through proper government support and policy. So in this budget, the government is introducing a 30% lease premium subsidy up to 7,500 for farmers and leaseholders earning under 50,000 to support lease renewals. And you remember last year, government paid about 1.2 million to renew 180 agriculture leases where farmers were not able to pay the premium. And we were happy to do that because we also wanted to support the landowners. The landowners also deserve the premium. If they are renewing the leases, if they are saying, you know, we are going to give land for another 50 years or 99 years, depending on, you know, the landowners also deserve the premium. But we as a government, we are also recognizing that not everybody, not every farmer may have the capacity and the income to pay the premium that the landowners want or that the TLTB wants. So we are providing support for those. The other one is we have used the civil initiative. We are reinstating that, and there we are paying.
That's Committee for Better Utilization of Land.
Yeah, so right now the lease value is, the premium is 6% of UCB, the rental. We are providing 10%, and the additional 4% is being paid by the government to the landowners, and in that way we are also encouraging the landowners to renew the leases and to provide support to the tenants. So that's the steps we are taking in this budget. Apart from that, Vijay, we, for the agriculture sector, not just sugar, non-sugar sectors, first time this government has begun providing support to the non-sugar crop sectors. Whether you are a ginger farmer, dalo farmer, cassava farmer, vegetable farmer, you are now eligible to get subsidized fertilizer and subsidized weedicide. And what we find is that, and plus we are giving price support. The rice farmers are getting one of the best prices now, $1,000 per ton. And the difference, Fiji rice is being supported through government funding. And what we have seen is that has led to the growth in the agriculture sector. In fact, as the governor of the Reserve Bank said 2-3 days ago, that our resource sectors, apart from the tourism, is also showing growth. And this is the first time after so many years of neglect of the resource sectors that we actually seeing production increase, productivity increase, and we are making conscious effort and providing incentives for commercial agriculture. So you mentioned Fiji Water. There are a number of other, Atkin Spence, that company is also looking at agriculture. And we are seeing growth of agriculture throughout the country, and especially in Vanua Levu. In fact, Vanua Levu would be the growth pole, growth center for the next 10 to 20 years, given the incentives we provided, given the confidence that people have. Businesses are actually moving to Vanua Levu. The tourism development project, $400 million project for the next 10 years, is having a huge impact. And as DPM Gavoka said, it is a priority. And so, put it as a package, this is going to be good for the country, good for Fiji.
And will you be having discussions with institutions like Great Council of Chiefs and Ito Kailan Trust Board to ensure discussions continue to make more Ito Kailan available for agriculture?
Precisely. I mean, part of the strategy that I outlined, in terms of lease renewal payments, etc. And I think, in my view, my interactions with TLTV, they've been very good. They are working very hard. I think these rumors that, somehow TLTV is trying his best not to renew leases, that's not true. I know that the CEO himself is very much invested in making sure that not only the landowners but the tenants also benefit, and that there is ease of renewal of leases, and where we find that the government needs to step in to support that, we are doing it. And I am confident that working together, apart from the political noise that comes from some people who always look at this in terms of race, I think the issue of tenants, TLTV, landowners, and other groups working together to advance the interest of everyone is the way to go. And we feel confident that it's being done.
Professor Prasad, the government has allocated $240.3 million to the police force. This will result in having an additional 1,000 police officers to take the full strength of the force for the first time to 6,550 across all ranks. Now, talks have been held about the increased visibility needed, about the dangers that exist at night of muggings, and other crimes occurring. We have the bigger operations in relation to drugs and other crimes, dealing with many more officers needed. But people have asked about consideration to be given for consistent monitoring of red zone areas, like even night strips in the main areas of Suva, Nandi, Lautoka and other places in the country. You have announced that more officers will be on the ground. How much discussion has taken place to ensure that this is realized, fully realized?
So, Vijay, this is one of the decisive steps that we've taken. We have committed $40 million. First phase of $19 million is provided in this budget. Apart from the vacant positions, we are going to add additional 500, which will take up to 800 to 900 officers, additional officers immediately into the system. Now, the Commissioner of Police is providing excellent leadership. He is fully invested in the visibility, and as you said quite rightly, looking at some of the red zones in Nandi, Lotoka, Suba, and with this support, with the resolve by the Fiji Police Force and the Commissioner himself, and he's quite rightly pointed out soon after the budget that it is now action. It is now on to them. The government has done its part, and as the Commissioner said, that it is now up to them to actually take this on. And I am very confident now that the police visibility, police presence in some of these hot spots would be greatly enhanced, and I think we will see immediate and drastic reduction in some of those crime and petty crime that we see in different areas.
You've also looked at the mobile money wallet monitoring. We know remittances average about $100 million a month for Fiji now, and majority of the funds are likely to be coming through mobile money wallets. Please explain what is being done to ensure it is not being used for money laundering activities by drug dealers, etc.
Yeah. So precisely, Vijay, it's not targeting individuals. So, if your relative, sends you money from overseas to somebody in the family, where $100 or $200, and your income, whatever you get, is still below 30,000. You don't pay any taxes. This is more for the small businesses where they use mobile payment systems. So, for example, I'm a small business operator. You buy something from me, and you send me the payment on my personal mobile, M-Pesa. Now, what we are saying is all business dealings, all mobile wallets must have a TIN number, so that FRCS, those who are tasked to monitor this, know that proper transactions are happening, and this will avoid people using these M-Pesa or mobile wallets to, as you said quite rightly, to engage in money laundering, siphoning of drug money, etc., or dirty money as we call it. All this is being done to address that, and government is probably losing a lot of revenue as well. So it's also part of the compliance strategy to ensure that we raise enough revenue as well.
Plans for health. You have announced an ambitious $2 billion new national hospital. The real need for CWM upgrade and more beds remains. You have talked about the new specialty hospital, which is funded by India. Of course, Aspen, building a hospital in the West. And also, there have been private hospitals that have been set up, one in Nandi, even Miot here in Suva, another one in Walu Bay that continues its operations. Then we have got the heart hospital by Cyprema. You have provided funding for that. In terms of health, we know this is something which is requiring a lot of attention, because a lot of people rely on our health system. What is being done to ensure we quicken the process as far as dealing with the infrastructure is concerned, and also dealing with the lack of consumables and medication?
Yeah. So, Vijay, we are taking a very holistic approach to developing and improving our health infrastructure. And it doesn't, as I say always, that we have to keep reminding the people, and I have to do this. I know some people don't like this, that we inherited one of the most dilapidated state of health infrastructure in this country, from CWM to health centers, to subdivisional medical hospitals, to nursing stations. I mean, I went to Kandavu, you go and years, the hospital was falling apart. Mothers were giving birth in the veranda of the hospital. The doctors were completely, shocked, to the core that they had to operate in an environment like that. Now, we are fixing a lot of that. Nasori Health Center, as I've said to you many times, was falling apart for 10, 15 years. We got New Zealand government to fix that within a year. The Australian government is now fixing the Kandavu Hospital. We have allocated funding for the rehabilitation of both Kandavu and Tavuni from our government budget as well. The CWM Hospital, you remember, even when we were in opposition, Vijay, we used to take pictures of what was happening in. When we came into government, we took that head on. We haven't been able to fix everything yet, but we got the Australian government to do an audit of the hospital. And when that report came out, you see the first sentence in the report says very clearly, after years of neglect, this is what has happened. So there are 27 projects. The Australian government has already provided some funding. The work has already started in fixing some of this. But we recognize that the number of beds is not enough. The capacity there is not enough. So we have started, we have made significant progress in developing our roadmap with the support of the Government of Australia for a new national hospital. The clinical service plan has already been done, and it's being, and we are projecting the needs for the next 10, 20 and 30 years. And we're saying that, we've already, there's a study already being done on possible locations, and number of locations have been identified. We want to increase the number of beds from 453 to more than 700. Some people say, why 703? But that is what the projections at the moment show. It could be less or more, but definitely it needs a big scale up. And that project, we are working with a number of development partners led by Australia, World Bank, ADB, and that would be a game changer. That would be a Pacific hospital. We are also talking to other Pacific Island countries, and many of them are supporting the development of the new national hospital. It may be a project for 4 to 5 or 6 or 7 years, but it will be a transition. While that hospital is being considered, being planned, the financing, we will be announcing some more aspects of that in the near future. But in the meantime, CWM hospital is being upgraded to make sure that the clinical services plan that has been done, that none of these things that have been nagging our people, on a daily basis, is there. Plus, we want to make sure that the health centers around the country are improved, and we are doing that. Then we are focusing on the Aspen HCF, Bar and Lautoka Hospital, and the history behind it. The hospital was, both hospitals were given to this company without them having met any of the concession agreements. Government is paying every single cent of all the services that is being provided at Bar and Lautoka Hospital. We are renegotiating the agreement. We want to make sure that there is value for money, that the services that these hospitals provide are commensurate with the cost that the government is paying. And I must say, because the stance we took, because the engagement we have had with the HCF, with Aspen, the services have also improved. But we have to make sure that we create a system where we control the demand, we concentrate on specific areas, so that it is not, health is one area, Vijay, when you open up, it never stops. It'll be unmanageable. So we need to get a handle on that. Plus, correspondingly, we are trying to support the private hospitals structure as well. So we are providing additional support, funding, and tax incentives. So Sai Prema, first time, it's our government which came in. Previous government didn't give them a single cent. They went there, they became part of the openings and all that, but not a single cent was provided. We've been providing them funding, and we know that they're doing a lot of good work in terms of looking after our children with heart diseases. Then we are providing support and incentives for new PSH hospital in Nandi. The Indian Super Specialty Hospital, the construction of the hospital will commence soon, and that is something that, so my, all I want to say to the people that we have a very clear vision about where our health services should go in the next 5 to 7 years. And the work that has already started points to a very, very clear target that in 5 to 7 years we will have a health system in this country that will be second to none.
Now, health also has its issues that need to be dealt with immediately, as we've discussed about infrastructure. There have been questions raised by, you would know, people who have been former residents like renowned cardiologist Dr. Vijay Kapadia, who comes every year with his teams, and he's raised concerns about many Fijians who die early because they haven't had that cardiac care that can be easily provided in terms of what can be done in a cath lab and pacemakers, etc. He has been battling with the previous government to ensure these type of consumables are readily available, and has even highlighted, even up to now, about sheaths that are just worth a couple of $100 that can actually save lives to do stent work for heart patients, etc., to ensure that they continue at CWM Hospital. What type of plans are in place for these types of things?
Let me first of all say that we are really grateful to people like Dr. Kapadia. I think the compassion and the passion that he has in giving back to the people of Fiji, in terms of health, and particularly in his area of cardiology, we are really grateful. And on behalf of the government, I want to thank him for his very strong advocacy and his ability to raise issues with us in government. What we want to assure him, and I know things could have been done better, to support the work that he does, and I personally, with the Minister for Health, visited the hospital with him last time when he was with the Australian High Commissioner at that time, and we have promised him that these sort of consumables and facilities that they need to treat our people must be provided at any cost, and I know that the Minister for Health is working on it. Sometimes it should happen at a speed it may not have happened, but I can assure you that both the Minister for Health and I and the Prime Minister is aware of his concerns, and that we will be addressing any leftover concerns that he may have. But again, I want to thank him for his great passion and willingness to come to Fiji and support the treatment of our people.
The hospital infrastructure also, questions were being raised, even you have raised serious concern about 25% of the health budget going to Aspen in the past, and based on the previous deals that were done. And then that just leaves 75% to look at the total infrastructure that you have to look after in terms of health. Will this be something that will be addressed this time?
As I said, Vijay, the negotiations are are intense now. We are spending a lot of time, and there are a lot of people involved in it. The permanent secretary will lead a delegation again next week to Sydney for some final negotiations. And we are hoping that in the shortest possible time, we would be able to get an agreement that we can live with and that the company can live with it, and that we are able to then provide these services at a cost, which is manageable, which is reasonable, but also delivering the services that people need. And I must say that there are areas where they have improved services significantly. We obviously looking at all the costs, etc., but that is something that is all under negotiation right now.
We have some world-class facilities now, like you talked about PSH in Nandi. There's quite a large percentage of people too who are medically insured in Fiji. And we know at times the options given by the insurance companies are options overseas. Now, I know some of these hospitals, they have not been able to have successful discussions with insurance, some of the insurance companies, about including them in that option. Are any discussions underway with government to start providing such options?
Yeah, we haven't had direct negotiations with the insurance companies, Vijay, on this matter in particular. But what we feel will happen, what we are interested in right now is to improve the services, support the private sector hospitals as well, so that there is a natural attraction. When people become confident that they can get a particular treatment here in Fiji at a particular hospital, then the insurance companies, then they would not go to the insurance companies to say, send me to New Zealand or Australia or India. And I think insurance companies would have a much easier role then to direct patients or support, and patients themselves would be willing. Right now, the insurance policies includes things like treatment in overseas for certain types of things. So those who are insured obviously used it. But I'm confident that, in the next few years, when these facilities, when the Indian Super Specialty Hospital, PSH, SPEN, and of course when the new hospital is here, then we would be in a much better position. And I think there will be a natural tendency for insurance companies and patients to use local facilities.
Medicine shortage has been an issue in the past, and of course Minister for Health, Dr. Lalambalavu, had also visited India. Agreements have been signed. Do we expect the proper purchasing, procurement to be done now? Because that has become an issue where there's lack of supply in certain places and always brings up a major issue about shortages.
So what we are saying as a government, that there should never be any shortage of medicine in the way that people feel is happening now. So we have put in place, there is no shortage of funding. We have put in place M-Supply system. We are making sure that we open up the sources of supply, sources of purchase. So this pharmacopoeia agreement that we've signed with India, and we are now negotiating an actual agreement to set up direct government-to-government procurement. So we don't have to go through, and the UNDP is helping us in that. So very soon, and I'm confident in the next couple of months, we would be able to get that agreement of supply, and that we would be getting much cheaper and perhaps better medicine from India. India is kind of a world's pharmacy in many ways. Countries like the US, Australia, New Zealand, and others, purchase a lot of drug from India. So we have this great opportunity now, and it is this government that has taken that decisive step to do that. And we are confident that once we have that government-to-government, agreement and supply, we will at least in all the health centers and subdivisional hospitals and nursing stations, we will have the availability of basic medicine at all times.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just the issue in relation to General Secretary, was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
Vijay, no one is above the law.
We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I'm Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, and we are having this straight talk from the Ministry of Finance office here at Royal Alambalavu House. Now, Deputy Prime Minister, there's plans for housing announced, and there's a lot of people who are getting concerned they do not have access to affordable housing. They're facing great difficulties in many areas in the country, and of course the rent options also remain limited. What are some of the options that you have given for those who want to own their own house, and also for those who have been asked to leave from informal settlements like Nambua Muslim League?
Yeah, so Vijay, there are a number of announcements that we've made in this budget. We have allocated about $14.6 million for the formalization of 6 informal settlements in Tabela, Tore, Filfoti, Balevangu, Yaya, Sukoda, Bunika, and 4 new areas including Lubu Seaside, Nambare, Dalaisaveni and Dombati. Dombati was neglected for a very, very long time. Then we have allocated about $2.2 million in fact, for resettlement of people, particularly in Batuanga and the Nambua Muslim League settlement, because the landowners want the land back. So we have to ensure that there is, if these people are evicted, then they be supported by the government, and that we identify where they can. Apart from that, we are also providing subsidies, support for first home buyers. We are giving them VAT exemption. We are giving them support through grants based on the income. Plus, this time, this is a new initiative, and Vijay, this is another thing that the previous government neglected for so many years. They knew that there was this big termite infestation, big problem in the Western Division. It reached Lambasa, it's also reached Suba. Nothing was done. So first time we came in and we provided additional funding support for existing houses. People were given grants to fix the houses. We have gotten to making sure that the bait is available, that you actually treat this. And in this budget, we have allocated a sum of about 2.9 million for the termite subsidy and national termite program. But we are also going further. So if your house get infested with termite, and if you are renovating it, you actually get a VAT exemption on the expenditure that you put in to fix your house damaged by a termite. So these are like some of the steps that we have taken in this budget to ensure that we support people. We are also looking at how we can open up more land, how we can continue building this infrastructure, apart from making sure that PRB flats remain in a healthy position, that they continue to provide housing for really low-income families, who may not be able to rent, normal, flats available in the market. Despite the fact that we haven't made any decision on rent freeze yet, but we've had rent freeze since 2007, Vijay, and the problem is not lifting the rent freeze. The problem is, in the last 20 years, the supply of new homes, new flats, has not increased. Now, in fact, rent freeze is probably working in a perverse way. But, if we remove it tomorrow, people will say, well, why did you remove the rent freeze? But even if you remove the rent freeze, even if you keep the rent freeze, the rental has gone up, because people who are building new flats, they know that there is a rent freeze, that they can't go back to that base. So they go for a higher rent. And so in the end, the consumers, the people who are looking for flats, so we will review this whole issue of rent freeze in the next year or in the next few months, and see whether we need to lift that. We focus on availability of more flats, and let the market decide. And if there is competition, if there is availability of new flats, etc., then it could stabilize the rent. So it was a bad policy designed to just please people, but on the ground it didn't have any effect.
Water infrastructure continues to be a major concern in some areas. Through the Viria water treatment project, the Suvarnosuri corridor water woes have been fixed. But then we had issues almost on a daily basis for elevated areas in the Tamavua, Tadirua areas. And then we have issues from Suva to Lami corridor, where people have also been saying they almost have issues on a weekly basis. What are your plans for those areas, and also other areas in the west, Navua, some of those neglected areas?
So Vijay, just to give you a very specific example, the announcements I made in the budget, a sum of 4.9 million is provided for the construction of a new 20 megaliter packaged water treatment plant to complement the existing Tamavua water treatment plant. I think this will boost capacity, it will accelerate delivery. You're right, the Viria water project, the commissioning of it has solved all the problems in Nasori, large parts of Nasinu. There are problems still remaining around Cunningham, Sokoda, Tamavua, Princess Road. And this project that we are undertaking now, and hopefully in the next 1 year, 12 to 18 months, that all the infrastructure would be completed, and that the water issues will become a thing of the past. Apart from that, nationally we are looking at making sure that once the Nangado water project comes on board, that some of the problems we are having in Nandi area would be also resolved. On top of that, we have announced piped water in certain areas. For example, from Wailebu to Tambia, the water is available there, but for years, that stretch, the pipe system was not there. In areas where we feel that piped water will take a much longer, which will require a much bigger infrastructure, we allocated about $6 million for boreholes. Unfortunately, last year when we allocated that to have 1,700 boreholes, 1,000 in Veti Lebu, 500 in Vanua Lebu, 200 in Meri, we were not able to do as much as, in fact, we did only a small fraction of it. Now, in this budget, we have provided that funding again, and we are saying to the executing agencies that they need to move on very, very quickly. And we are hoping that this year, a lot of the water woes for small communities, remote communities, in distant areas of the country will be resolved. So, plus, this is the first time that we have taken a decisive step, as I explained to you in Parliament, in the delivery of the budget, this non-revenue water. This is water actually leaking out of the main pipe system. So 50% of water that goes through the system leaks out. And that's a huge loss of water. And that's why in certain areas, that water which gets lost around Soeni pipe system, doesn't end up in the reservoir in Tamavua. That causes problems for water around those areas. So we've got a Spanish company now. It's a good model. It's probably the first in the Pacific. And basically, they will be paid according to the percentage of wastewater that or the leakage water that they reduce. So we are hoping that in the next, 5 to 6 months, we would bring it down to less than, 20%. And the other 20%, I think we can attack that later. But right now, if we can harness that 25 to 30% out of the 50% that leaks out, I think that will improve the water situation in a big way. But this is something that when we explain to the people, I can understand the frustration of the people. They want water in the tap, and we appreciate it. But people also have to understand that this is something that we can't fix overnight.
It's a startling number.
To
produce water.
Yeah.
To produce water, and 50% of it, knowing 50% of it is not even reaching the people because it's leaking into the soil.
Exactly. And so no investment in the last 20 years, and especially in the last 15, 16 years under the previous government, there was no improvement in the fixing of the old pipes and looking at understanding where the leakages were coming. So you're right. Plus, imagine, you're right, the startling figure, 50%. And we have come to the point where we had to take decisive action, and that's happening now. And as I announced in the budget, the Spanish company would work on it.
I'll ask you about questions being raised by the opposition. First of all, the leader of the opposition, Inyasiri Ratu, straight after the budget address, he said he was happy with the relief measures, but that he was concerned about the revenue that the government will be able to generate, whether it will be able to generate that revenue, and which has resulted in borrowings. Then we've got a few days later, a statement released by opposition MP Premila Kumar, where she has said that the budget is a desperate gamble built on borrowing, not direction, and the government is hooked on borrowing with no control over its bloated operational spending. Premila Kumar also said at the end of 2006, Fiji's debt was $2.87 billion, and over the next 12.5 years, it increased to 5.73 billion. During COVID, debt rose sharply to approximately 9.1 billion. What she is saying, debt is projected to reach, as you have stated, 11.7 billion by July 2026, and based on that, in 12.5 years, debt increased by just $2.9 billion under the previous government. In 16 years, total debt reached $6.4 billion, but almost 3.3 billion of debt is anticipated in the first term of the coalition government. Yeah. What are your comments on that?
Yeah, so I think the leader of the opposition was probably more sensible in welcoming the budget, but also putting a cautionary note to say revenue projection, revenue forecast, and he is right. Any government that forecasts revenue must ensure that we have the right forecast. And our record in the last 2 years, Vijay, compared to the previous government, over the years, they never got the revenue that they had projected in the budget. We, in the last 2 years, we collected more than the projected revenue. So our revenue forecast of 3.9 billion, based on our record in the last 2 years, is very reasonable. Honorable Kumar, I think, is completely confused. When, first of all, she says deficit is close to 7%, which is completely wrong. We said 6%, and it's very clear that it's 6%. She completely ignores the standard measure of debt sustainability, which is debt to GDP ratio. Now, when we came into government, they left us with a debt to GDP ratio of more than 90%. Now, in the first two budgets, and she's got the deficit figures wrong as well. I mean, in the first two budgets, our deficit was less than 4% compared to the deficit of more than 7%, 6 to 7% that they used to have. They are hiding under the COVID period, that's fine. But she forgets that they had negative GDP growth in 2019. And when COVID hit us, we had nothing. We had no money. You know, we had the fourth largest contraction of all the economies in the world because of what they did before. So I think I can understand, because they had no idea, they had no discussion. I mean, they didn't know. So I think they are learning the grips of being in opposition. But she is forgetting that the debt to GDP ratio was brought down from more than 90% to around 75, 76% in the last two budgets. And we created that space, Vijay. She forgets that a $10 billion debt, around close to $10 billion debt around July 2023, was their legacy. And so debt repayment includes the principal sum. So when you talk about the gross deficit, this is just, you have to look at this. So we are actually paying what we inherited. Plus the additional borrowing that we've done is to deal with the disaster that they left in water, in road, in health, in education. So the question is what they were borrowing for, what we are borrowing for, and how we are managing. Our GDP growth in the last 2-3 years has been very positive, in the face of our neighbors having very poor growth, Australia and New Zealand. Now, if you put that together, we created that space. Two things she doesn't want. I mean, she's confused, completely confused. First, she says, "Oh, you shouldn't have put the VAT on." When we rationalize the VAT, we increase our revenue. We increase company tax from 20 to 25%. We improve compliance. We collected more than enough revenue. We are able to provide that funding to social welfare, to agriculture, to build a health facility. So she doesn't want, by saying this, she doesn't want us to reduce the VAT from 15% to 12.5. She doesn't want us to reduce wastewater. She doesn't want us to add all these things to improve infrastructure. Look at where the money is going. Okay, there might be a little additional expenditure on the size of government, but we are not looking at hundreds of millions of dollars. We're looking at small amounts. The bigger slice of the pie of the budget is going to address these legacy issues that they left us. So she is completely lost, I think, in her argument and contradicting herself. Of course, we are aware of the debt to GDP ratio, about the nominal debt increasing. But our debt to GDP ratio, even with 6% deficit, is still 10% lower than what they had. And this decision, Vijay, because we had the space, from 3.5 we could go to 6. We created that deliberately. Now we are facing the headwinds, global economic slowdown. Tomorrow if the oil prices go up, this is why we have done this budget, what we call expansionary budget, and we can handle this slightly bigger borrowing, and all the borrowing that she's talking about in 3 years. She should tell us, where is it going? She should tell us. We are fixing the mess that they had left behind. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as government is concerned, we have taken a very prudent financial management approach, which means we are funding government properly now, and our projection of 3.9 billion is spot on. And our record shows in the last 2 years that we said this is what we're going to collect, we collected more. Unlike the previous government, where they never met the forecast. In fact, they always collected less than what they forecasted. So their budgeting was not based on proper forecast, proper statistics, proper analysis. Ours was.
My final question is in relation to the specific monitoring practices in the budget. You have removed all the R's, the requisitions in bold that used to be in the budget books, and just to ensure that you have said, to ensure that you free up all the ministries with the financial management practices in place to be followed, and to ensure there's efficiency in government delivery. Now, the question is about the usage of the public funds, the effective use of the public funds, but at the same time to ensure that you have a system in place to quickly detect abuse and corruption. What are the compliance measures in place to ensure we do not have this blowing up?
So, Vijay, all the compliance requirements, all the aspects of Financial Management Act, all the audit requirements, following of procedures, approvals, is not being taken away. What we are giving back to the ministries is the control that we had here, in terms of a permanent secretary or the minister approving the requisition. We are saying, we are giving it back to you, to the respective permanent secretaries, but the responsibility will lie on them to ensure that whatever the processes of proper financial management, approvals, etc. is followed. This will be a pilot for a year, and we will have a good monitoring system from within the Ministry of Finance, and we will make sure, and if we feel that it's not working, or that there are elements of abuse or whatever, then we have the control with us.
What if some ministries start taking excessive overseas trips where you may think it's not beneficial, larger delegations, or if there's more meetings, workshops and luxury hotels?
Yeah, well, I think we are discussing all this. The overseas trips are approved by the Honourable Prime Minister, and I think the Prime Minister understands this very well. He himself, does caution government ministers every now and then about how we need to be able to see where we can do without going to overseas. I mean, I do a lot of meetings on Zoom and participate or give speeches that I feel I don't have to go. But there are meetings where ministers' presence, is important. For example, I don't miss the ADB or World Bank annual meetings. This is a place where we need to discuss things. So I don't think, already the system doesn't allow any kind of abuse. But sometimes it's not the abuse, it's the way in which things happen. For example, you're right, if we can avoid going into an expensive hotel to have meetings, we should do that. And every dollar, every 100,000 saved is important to taxpayers' money.
Professor Prasad, thank you very much for coming on the show and answering all the issues that have come up to speak to our listeners and users directly. And as we know that the national budget debate will take place from 14th July before it comes into effect. The budget itself comes into effect from 1st August 2025. That's the government financial year. Before we finish off, any final comments from you to the people?
No, I just want to say thank you to all those who came during our budget consultation, sent us written submissions, and we are very pleased with the quality and the level of engagement of our people, and I'm very pleased with the response we are getting on the budget. There is positivity all around. We can see the level of confidence in the economy, and all I want to say to our people is this budget is meant for everyone, and we are now making sure that its implementation is effectively done and that a lot of the concerns of the people have been addressed in this budget, Vijay.
Thank you, Professor Prasad, and that's your show for tonight. Until next week, have a great evening.
Thank you.